You are an infinite being living a short-term human experience here on earth. You are divine, despite all the things that you are taught along the way to the contrary. You are pure consciousness, moving and creating in a conscious universe. You are made of unconditional creation love, created by unconditional love, and you manifest with unconditional love. You were thought into being by the conscious mind of the Alpha, the Creator, God, the Unknowable, or as the Kybalion of Hermes Trismegistus says, the All. The name itself isn't the key issue for this conversation. It's enough to recognize how no name or word invented by humankind will ever contain the full scope of the initial source of all of creation. Point in case, the Jewish faith has 7 names to describe it. They consider it so holy that once written it can't even be erased, and many people shouldn't even speak it aloud. Now, philosophically, the fact that you are an infinite divine soul living and creating in the mind of a conscious universe can be easy to accept, or insanely hard. To truly discern what that means on a practical level, it all depends on how tightly you're married in your human ego-intellect to the ideas of safety and curiosity. If safety is your number one priority, then your curiosity will guide you to put the wine of new ideas into the old wineskins of limiting beliefs, as the biblical parable goes. Now, this will keep you protected from new and unknown challenges, of course. But, like putting new wine into old wineskins, it'll sour the new idea. Now, if curiosity is your leading impulse, and I mean real curiosity, like that of a child who's discovering the world for the first time, you'll gleefully let go of old ideas as new illuminations rise up from your divine soul knowing. I'm challenging you as one light worker to another to exercise your innate ability of curiosity to discover ways you can shine your light in the world like never before, and no matter what anyone has to say about it. Now, let me share some of my story of discovery, and perhaps you'll take from it so that you can add to yours. A search for answers defined my early reawakening days as an adult. I just couldn't buy into the label that my elders had put on my experiences of astral traveling as a child. They labeled it as being of the devil. Now, to me, astral traveling at night was normal. It was my respite from what I saw and experienced energetically as a violent world filled with judgment in the name of human love. Now, I could see and feel a life force energy expand and contract between us. Watching people suck at each other's light, my human soul cried out in frustration saying, no, please stop, it doesn't have to be that way. But they didn't, and so I astral traveled as a way of taking a vacation from the physical stress of feeling their pain, the pain that comes from living in the illusion of separation. In this multidimensional cosmos of ours, there was only unconditional love, and man, it felt comfortable. But I was here on Earth. I agreed to be here. I had a mission to plant deeper levels of unconditional love in the collective consciousness of Earth. So, in the name of human love for my parents, I decided I couldn't do that anymore. Still, being told that astral traveling was dangerous didn't make sense. Before I stopped altogether, I tried to explain that it wasn't something bad, it was natural. Look, I said, feel this! And I emanated divine light their way as a young child, and I watched them recoil in fear and felt them send energy cords my way to protect me from what they perceived as great harm. As a result, I shut down. And from that experience, I created the core belief system for myself that said, it's best to stay hidden in plain sight. Stay verbally silent and do your light work from the sidelines. So even when I grew older and life choices put me up front and center stage, even when I started working with clients individually, I still did my best light work behind the scenes, hiding in plain sight. Yes, even when my father, in his misbegotten effort to prepare me for a cruel world by consistently calling me an airhead and getting my siblings to join in with the taunting laughter, tell me that didn't hurt, I sent him love anyway. I understand now how he wanted me to learn to fight back because he sincerely believed that fighting was fundamental to survival here on Earth. It didn't work, of course. Rather than fight back, I kind of curled up inside the hurt that he inflicted on my young psyche. Needless to say, the light of unconditional love that I gave him grew weaker and dimmer as time went on. I don't believe he ever really understood me. or even what divine love is, until he was on his deathbed, and he allowed me to assist him in his smooth transition out of this physical body. That was a landmark moment for me. Finally, I stood publicly firm in my knowledge of how we are all divine souls made up of infinite unconditional love, living in the conscious mind of all there is. And I spoke it out loud to the one who taunted me the most in my youth. But I get ahead of myself. Bringing this back to our guiding impulses of safety or curiosity, for the longest time growing up, safety was my go-to container for new illuminations. Yes, I grew in consciousness, and yet I spoke of it less and less, silently holding the space of unconditional love so others could feel safe enough to stop lashing out with energy cords of suffocating judgment. That is, until the day when I got a human glimpse of infinity. I was in my late 20s. The garden to my attached home had just been designed by a landscape architect, so I wanted to sit on the front porch and revel in the newness of its beauty. After all, in literally one day, my yard had gone from the worst in the neighborhood to what I considered to be the best. I was quite pleased with my young self, and I poured a glass of Chardonnay and savored that first and only sip. It was pure, unadulterated contentment. That's what I felt. Relaxing into its calming influence, my mind drifted into a thought experiment that was overbrimming with curiosity. How did my astral traveling, I wonder, which was not of the devil, I knew that for sure, fit into the paradigm of Jesus and his death and resurrection? And how did some dude who died on a cross so long ago save me from what I haven't yet done on Saturday night? Answer me that, please. I mentally asked that unknown universe at large before adding, and don't tell me I need to have faith. I want real answers, not platitudes and attitudes I've been given so far, okay? I'll admit, back in the day, even though I believed in a higher power of some sort, my approach to spirituality was more of a pragmatic and sassy scientist than a poet. If I'd lived in Jesus' time, I probably would have been standing right next to Thomas, pointing my finger at Jesus, saying, "Yeah, dude, show me the halls. Just show me the halls." One of the 14 principles of living unconditional love in my book, How to Make the Most of Your Earth Experience, is the power of asking the right question. It's a core principle because the question is the answer wanting to reveal itself to you. Now remember, we are conscious divine beings living in a conscious universe. Asking a question with true curiosity will bring you an answer. The conscious mental universe we live in is designed that way. Now, you need to have a truly open mindset, though, one that's willing to perceive the answer without trying to put it into a tidy, already known box. That day, even though I was feeling sassy, my human ego-intellect was wide open. I let go, and my first answer rose up with a aha moment of new questions that helped me to connect some old and new dots. It's like when I astral travel, there's this cord that keeps me attached to my body. And when we die, the cord is cut and our soul moves on. And so I sat there in suspended curiosity, waiting for my answer. A vibration of liquid gold rose up from within and flooded through me. I didn't know it at the time, but it was me, my divine soul knowing, guiding my human ego-intellect's thoughts towards illumination. So, Jesus was such a master, he knew how to come back into his body even after his cord was severed. Is that true? The hairs all over my body stood on end. The magnificence of that idea came in this awe-inspiring mix of gratitude, respect, and humility that lifted me higher than anything I'd ever experienced on earth up until that point. My human soul soared upwards in exaltation. And that's when the doorway to infinity opened, and I got my first adult glimpse of it. The words vast or glorious or just pure, unlimited, raw potential don't begin to describe it. The physical sensations in my body, however, they're easy to describe. It felt like a jolt of electricity that raced through me. The synapses in my brain literally crackled like fireworks inside my skull as they detached from old pathways and endeavored to process information in better, more refined pathways. And then my body jerked so hard, the glass slipped through my fingers and I fell off the bench I was sitting on. With my butt firmly planted on the ground, I did my best to breathe through it and hold on to the illumination as best I could. It was painful yet oddly exquisite at the same time. It's hard to describe. In that state, time isn't linear, so I can't tell you how long the experience lasted. I can say this, it's taken a lifetime to grow into it. To learn what it means to live inside the infinite mind of the all takes concrete practice. Since we are infinite, unlimited, divine souls living in an unlimited universe, creating a finite earthly experience, the learning and evolving knows no bounds. Its meaning evolves and grows as you do. Bit by bit, I learned to step out of the limiting paradigm I'd created for myself that said it's best to stay in plain sight. Step by concrete step, I learned, and I'm still learning, to shift my human consciousness back into my birthright of standing tall in my infinite divine light, no matter what anyone has to say about it. Now, a pivotal moment in my discovery curve came when I finally let go of my painful need to define infinity. That allowed space in my human psyche to let curiosity reign again with that childlike wonder. And it was my curiosity that made me hungry to know more. Catherine Jarvis, my teacher at the time, suggested that I study the 7 Hermetic principles of the Kybalion. I agreed, and so she put together a small study group. It was a laborious process, but that study opened multidimensional doorways in consciousness to new horizons, and it made all the difference in the world. Since then, I've had experiences that I wouldn't have even known to dream about. Now I can vibrationally process new dimensions of consciousness, multi-dimensions, as more of a seasoned traveler compared to my newly reawakening human soul of that day. And the unconditional love of my divine soul knowing put me in contact with legions of other divine souls. And in the process, it washed away that sense of loneliness that I used to carry in my bones. And sure, every once in a while it rises up and reverberates in my very cells, but I know that's just me calling me deeper into the infinite, omniscient, omnipotent, unconditional love of all of creation. Now that's some of my story of how I came to study the Kybalion and begin to understand its first principle of mentalism and what it means to live in a mental conscious universe. If you participate in the course that Tash Mitch and I are putting together on the Kybalion, you'll hear more stories about how we've integrated its teaching into our respective lives. It can also be an invaluable instrument to your story too. When it's ready, you'll see a link below, so I'm asking you, please do join us when it's ready. Until then, I'm wondering, what's your story going to be from this day forward? As one light worker to another, who came here on Earth like you did to assist in humankind's conscious evolution, I'd like to offer you a curiosity challenge, one that's filled with pure love. Discover on the newest and deepest level you're able the answer to 2 questions. 1, what is your core secret belief that keeps you smaller than you were created to be? And 2, what's your one burning question that's smoldering underneath your entire human experience? And then, if you feel so called, would you share it with us? Your new illuminations are a gift to me and all of our fellow humankind, as mine are to you. After all, we're in this together. From the light of my divine soul to yours, may you rejoice in new discoveries of how truly amazing you are, and you live them with clarity, courage, and emotional freedom to move and help create a world that's for the highest good of all. Here's an important question to ask yourself. What's your one takeaway from today's video? And if you're feeling sassy, like in a good way, how are you going to use it? Share it with me in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you want to stay in the loop for new ways to shine your light, no matter what anyone has to say about it.